Welcome, dear listener, to Bedtime Story Lounge. Tonight, we step softly into an ancient forest where dusk gathers beneath towering trees. The air cools, colors fade from gold to violet, and a hidden hollow waits, sheltering, protective, alive with quiet presence. This is a place of stillness and ritual, where memory lingers like roots beneath the soil. If you enjoy stories of sacred stillness, tales of moss, moonlight, and gentle ritual, do give this video a like and subscribe for more. It helps others find our little corner of calm. And tell me, if you'd like, what are you grateful for this evening? Before we step into the hollow, let's prepare with a simple breathing exercise. This is called box breathing, a slow rhythm like the steady rise and fall of wind through the trees. We'll breathe in for a count of 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, and hold again. Just follow my words. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. 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 Good. Now allow your breath to gently return to its normal rhythm. Feel your head grow heavy as though crowned by branches swaying softly above. Your shoulders release, loosening like moss falling gently from a tree. Arms resting by your side, steady as the roots pressed into the earth. Chest softening, rising and falling like a quiet breeze through the leaves. Belly easy, deep and calm like rich soil after rain. Hips grounded, supported by the earth itself, steady and secure. Legs heavy, strong as the trunks around you, still and unmoving. Feet sinking deeper, as though the ground accepts them, becoming one with the hollow. Now the forest waits. Let us walk together into the hollow, where the Druid begins their nightly ritual. The forest gathers itself close as dusk settles. Between the roots of oak and ash, a path winds inward, leading to the hollow. The Druid comes with quiet steps, steady as though the earth itself knows their weight. A simple robe brushes the moss, soft against stone. In one hand they carry a small lamp, in the other, nothing at all, for one hand must always remain free to greet the land. The hollow waits. It is not an empty space, but a living companion. Roots arch together like arms bent in welcome. Stones form a low circle, and ferns bow at the edges. The air feels different here, cooler, touched with the scent of damp earth, yet safe, as if the forest leans inward to protect this place. The Druid pauses at the entrance. They lower their head in silent greeting. A palm rests upon the ground, fingers tracing the curve of soil. The hollow seems to breathe in answer. Stepping within, they move with slow familiarity. This is not a hurried arrival, but a ritual of presence. Each gesture matters. The lamp placed gently on a flat stone, the soil touched again in acknowledgement, the deep inhalation that matches the rhythm of the trees around them. Here, in the hollow, they are never alone. The Druid lingers at the edge of the space, listening. Above, the canopy is dense, oak, ash and beech interwoven, yet here and there a gap opens, offering a glimpse of the sky. Faint streaks of violet and rose drift through, the last colours of the day. A single star already glimmers, framed by branches like a jewel in a crown. The air shifts. Cooler now, with a subtle drop in temperature, it brushes across the skin like a soft cloak. The scents are layered, earth darkened by yesterday's rain, moss damp and alive, the faint sweetness of crushed fern. A blackbird calls far away. Then silence falls, broken only by the hum of small night creatures waking. Within the circle of trees, the hollow feels close and sheltering, yet not confined. The roots arch overhead, their twists and turns like the ribs of a great cathedral. The mossy stones form a boundary, not a wall, but a gentle marking of sacred ground. The Druid stands still, drawing it all in. No words are needed. The hollow speaks in its own way, in colour, scent, the hush of leaves against the evening wind. And the Druid, as always, listens. Only when the silence settles into something deeper, not absence but presence, do they take a step forward, into the embrace of the hollow. The Druid kneels upon the mossy ground, lowering themselves with care. The circle is not grand, only soil, stones and roots, but in its quiet, it holds all the weight of the world. One hand presses firmly into the earth. Fingers trace a slow pattern, a spiral drawn not for others to see, but to remind the self of the endless turning of life. The soil is cool, faintly damp, yielding beneath the touch. From the small pouch at their side, the Druid scatters dried herbs into the spiral, leaves gathered at dawn, fragrant even now as they crumble. They are gifts to the hollow, returned to the place they were born. The other hand lifts to the lamp. A flame is coaxed alive with practiced ease, soft and steady. It is not bright, only a glow, enough to catch the curve of the stones and the shimmer of dew on the moss. Shadows lean inward, as though the forest bends to see. For a moment, the Druid simply breathes. Inhale, long and steady, as though drawing in the scent of earth itself. Exhale, slower still, releasing back to the air that stirs the leaves. Then, with both hands free, they raise their arms just slightly, not to command, but to acknowledge. A bow of the head, a breath drawn deep, a pause, and then the hands lower again, palms resting flat against the ground, sealing the gesture like a circle completed. The hollow answers not with words, but with stillness. The silence has a weight to it now, a fullness as though something vast has joined them, invisible but near. The Druid does not seek more. They do not call out. The ritual is enough. Each night the same. Each night the hollow remembers. The flame flickers a little, then steadies. Its glow softens the stones, the moss, the curve of roots overhead. The Druid lowers their hands to their lap. Breath moves in an easy rhythm now, slow, deep, unhurried. Around them, the hollow holds its silence like a bowl filled to the brim. The night creatures stir again. A moth brushes past the lamplight, wings glimmering silver before vanishing into shadow. Somewhere far beyond the trees, an owl gives a low call, the sound drifting like smoke across the canopy. The Druid closes their eyes. The hollow is not empty, never empty. It lives, it breathes, it remembers. Roots stretch deeper than thought, branches reach higher than sight, and within their sheltering embrace the Druid rests as steady and still as stone. Time loosens. The moment lengthens, flowing without measure. The hollow becomes everything, earth, air, and breath. In the deepening silence, the Druid's thoughts drift to the stories carried through generations. They tell of a stag, vast and watchful, whose antlers stretched like branches, catching the first light of dawn and the last of dusk. Its hooves left no mark, yet wherever it passed, the forest grew stronger, roots sinking deeper, leaves shining brighter. The tale says the stag was guardian of this very hollow long before human steps found their way here. It walked unseen, yet its presence lingered in every leaf and stone, a steady protection that never faltered. The Druid does not speak the story aloud. They do not need to. Instead, they feel it, the weight of the antlers above, vast as the canopy itself. The gleam of eyes in the dark, calm and knowing. The quiet breath, deep as the forest's own. There is no fear in the memory, only comfort. For the stag has always been here, and will always be here, whether seen or not. The Druid bows their head, acknowledging, not summoning, not asking, simply recognizing the companionship that endures. The flame burns low, the air grows cooler. Above the canopy, stars prick the darkening sky. And in the hollow, the stag's presence settles quiet and eternal, as though it has been here all along. The flame has burned low, its glow now no brighter than a firefly. The Druid leans forward, breathing softly upon it until it fades into a curl of smoke. Darkness folds in, not harsh but tender, the hollow cradling every shadow. With both palms pressed once more to the soil, the Druid bows their head. The earth feels cool, alive, steady beneath their touch, as if it holds not only the roots of trees, but all that has ever been remembered here. They rise slowly, though not to leave. Tonight, as every night, the ritual ends in stillness. There is no need for more. The hollow breathes with them. The forest settles. The stag's presence remains, a quiet reassurance woven into root and branch. Above, through the gaps in the canopy, the stars shine more brightly now. Their light falls gently into the circle, silver threads across moss and stone. The Druid closes their eyes. The night holds them, safe and complete. And in that stillness, peace deepens. A peace as enduring as the hollow itself.
Welcome, and thank you for joining me tonight at the Bedtime Story Lounge. Outside, the world is wrapped in stillness, frost soft on every branch, the air calm and deep as breath itself. The night has stretched long, the longest of the year, and the forest lies quiet beneath the pale blue sky before dawn. Here, in this hush, we'll walk together toward the first light of winter's morning, a gentle journey through darkness into renewal, where even the cold feels like part of something ancient and kind. Let this be your moment of rest, of release, of quiet belonging beneath the solstice oak. If you find peace in stories of turning seasons and soft dawn light, tales of frost-glazed branches, steady breath, and hope returning with the morning, pause here before you drift off to sleep and subscribe for more. Let's make sure you can always find this quiet refuge again. And tell me if you'd like, what are you grateful for this evening? Before our steps carry us into the forest, let's pause for a moment of stillness. We'll use a simple rhythm called box breathing. 4 gentle counts to breathe in, 4 to hold, 4 to breathe out, and 4 to rest in stillness. Imagine each breath as a small lantern glowing in the dark, steady, warm, and full of quiet life. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. 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 good. Now allow your breath to gently return to its natural rhythm. Let's begin by turning your awareness inward, from crown to root, just like the great oak we'll soon visit. Start at the top of your head, softening the space around your temples, your brow. Feel the night's quiet resting there, cool and still. Relax your neck and shoulders, releasing the day's weight as if letting snow fall from heavy branches. Loosen your arms and hands. They've worked, held, and carried enough. Let them rest, warm and unhurried by your side. Soften through your chest, the gentle rise and fall of your breath, like the slow wind moving through winter leaves. Ease your belly, allowing it to expand freely with each breath, peaceful, steady, alive. Let the calm drift through your hips and legs, grounding you like roots spreading through cold soil. Finally, release through your feet, feeling the earth's quiet strength beneath you, the same strength that carries the oak through each long winter. Now the body is still, the breath steady, the night deep around us. Ahead, a faint path winds through the snow, leading toward the clearing where the solstice oak waits, patient and enduring. Let's begin our walk through the forest and watch together as the first light of winter finds its way home. The air is thin and still, the kind of cold that hushes even thought. Each breath curls into the darkness, slow, visible, and gone again, as footsteps press softly into snow. The forest stretches wide and ancient around them, branches black against a deep and inky sky. Nothing stirs but the sound of snow shifting underfoot and the occasional whisper of a branch, light with frost. The night feels endless, a breath held by the world itself. And yet, as she walks, the senses begin to wake. Tiny crystals of ice catch what little starlight remains, scattering faint glimmers across the path. Somewhere ahead, a small sound, the quiet rustle of a creature beneath the snow, or a bird settling deeper into its nest. The traveller walks on. Her lantern is still dark, hanging from their hand, a circle of promise against the emptiness. The cold seeps through gloves and boots, but the rhythm of movement warms them slowly, breath, step, crunch, silence. Between the trees, the sky begins to open, the forest thinning, the air expanding. There, beyond the last line of pines, stands the oak. It rises from the snow like a monument to time itself, broad branches reaching outward, each one carrying centuries of frost and thaw. Around its roots, the ground is smoother, the snow deeper, untouched, but for the faint tracks of animals that come here for shelter. The traveller pauses at the edge of the clearing, breath clouding in the dawn-blue air. For a long moment she simply stands and watches, the vast, sleeping oak waiting, as it has always waited, for the first light of winter's morning. The oak rises before them, vast and still, its trunk furrowed with time, its bark bearing the pale scars of countless winters. Moss lies frozen in its hollows, tiny ridges of green beneath a glaze of frost. In the half-light, the tree seems both living and carved from stone, a keeper of everything the forest has ever known. The traveller steps closer. Her breath clouds the air, soft and rhythmic, merging with the faint drift of snow that still falls in slow spirals. Here, the world feels very old. Even the silence has depth, a silence that remembers. She kneels beside the roots. The snow is powdery, clean and cold through her gloves. With slow, careful hands, she brushes it away until a patch of dark earth shows through, a small window into the sleeping ground. The scent of soil rises faintly, rich and honest. From her satchel, she draws a small cloth bundle tied with twine. Inside are simple offerings, a handful of crumbs, some nuts, a few seeds gathered over the weeks before winter deepened. Each one placed gently into the snow, scattered between the oak's roots. A quiet thank you. A wish for life to return. Food for the birds and foxes who will find it later when light returns. She pauses for a moment, gloved hand resting on the rough bark. The tree is cold but solid beneath their palm. Older than her own grief, older than memory. She can feel the faint hum of life deep inside, slow and patient as roots in frozen ground. Then, from within their coat, she brings out a small lantern. It's old, brass dulled by years, glass misted and scratched, but it feels alive in her hands, like an old companion. Inside, wrapped in soft ash, lies a single ember from the hearth at home. The same ember that's been carried through countless winters before this one. She crouches low, shielding the lantern from the wind. Her breath catches as she opens it, the faintest glow within, barely a spark. She breathes softly. Once, twice. A small golden pulse answers, fragile but willing. Then the flame catches, blooms and steadies. Warm light spills through the glass, trembling against the snow. The lantern's glow reflects in the frost, tiny mirrors of gold scattered across the ground. The oak's bark gleams faintly, as though the light has woken something sleeping beneath its surface. The traveller sets the lantern gently at the base of the tree. The glass fogs clears, fogs again, the rhythm of flame and breath. She sits back on their heels, feeling warmth touch her face for the first time all night. Above them, the forest breathes, a sigh of wind through branches, soft and low. Somewhere distant, a small creature moves, dislodging snow from a branch. And there, on the horizon, the first pale rose of dawn unfurls, slow, hesitant, beautiful. The traveler doesn't move. She simply watches, as if afraid to disturb the fragile boundary between darkness and light. The world for a moment feels suspended. One heartbeat and then another. The flame glows softly at the oak's roots, its light small but certain against the pale blue dark. Above, the sky begins to change. Slowly, as if testing its own strength, a thread of colour spreads along the horizon. Not yet gold, not yet pink, only the faintest wash of rose across the snow. The frost catches it first. Every branch, every blade of frozen grass seems to shimmer, each crystal answering the sky. The forest breathes, its silence shifting from heavy to holy. A low wind moves through the clearing, brushing past the oak's limbs, stirring the folds of her coat. It smells faintly of pine, of earth waking under ice. The lantern's glow deepens, no longer the only light, but still steady, still true. Snowflakes drift through its warmth, melting as they pass the glass. The colours rise. Gold along the branches, pink along the snow. Then orange, then silver. The light moves through the world like water, pouring, patient, unstoppable. The first bird calls. A small sound, clear and alone, answered moments later by another. Then the air is full of them, gentle notes scattered through the trees like seeds of morning. She doesn't speak. She only watches. The oak towers above her, its limbs now alive with light. The years etched into its bark, gleaming faintly, as though every scar has turned to gold. Her eyes blur. Warmth prickles behind them, and the tears come quietly, without sob or sound. Just release, slow and clean as melting frost. They trace her cheeks, catching the new light, falling to the snow at her knees. She exhales, a breath that trembles, and for the first time in many nights she whispers, "Thank you." The word rises like smoke, light and brief, and disappears into the morning air. The light climbs higher. The pinks fade to gold, then to the pale silver blue of true morning. Frost loosens from the branches and falls in gentle drifts, each flake flashing before it lands. She stays where she is, hands resting in her lap, watching the snow glitter and dim as the sun finds its full strength. The oak stands before her like a cathedral of light. Every branch holds a quiet glow, every shadow softened. Beneath the bark, life stirs, slow sap rising through hidden veins, ready for the long months ahead. And deep within the roots, memory hums. This tree has seen hundreds of solstices. Hundreds of travelers like her who came to mark the turn of the year. Some knelt here in joy, others in loss. Each bringing their own small light to the dark. It remembers them all. The children who once chased foxes through the snow. The elders who stood with walking sticks, faces lifted to the first dawn of the new year. The lovers who carved initials in its bark and returned decades later to find the marks grown smooth. The countless creatures that slept in its shade, that nested in its hollows, that fed from its fallen acorns. Through every age, the oak has waited, not as a guardian nor as a god, but simply as a witness to how life endures. Now, as sunlight warms its crown, the tree seems to breathe out. A soft wind passes through its limbs, stirring the air around her like a sigh of contentment. She closes her eyes. In her chest, the ache that brought her here loosens its hold. The longest night is over. The light has returned. When she opens her eyes again, the clearing feels different, alive, awake, renewed. Tiny footprints already pattern the snow where birds have come to feed on her offerings. She smiles. Not the bright smile of joy, but the quiet kind that means peace. The lantern still burns at the roots of the oak. Its flame small but unwavering. She watches it a while longer, until the two lights, flame and sun, seem to merge into one. Around them, the forest hums softly. Branches whispering, snow settling, birds calling to one another through the light. And as the warmth spreads, the world drifts into stillness again. The solstice oak stands, patient and eternal, the memory of every dawn held deep within its heartwood. And somewhere at its roots, a small ember glows, waiting for the next winter, the next traveller, the next return of the light.
Welcome, and thank you for joining me tonight at the Bedtime Story Lounge. Outside, the mountains are wrapped in winter hush, snowfall drifting in slow spirals, lantern light catching on every flake. Tonight, we're boarding a quiet night train together, the last train through a high, snowy pass, a gentle homeward journey beneath a sky of pale blue glow. Settle in now. Let the soft stillness of the night surround you, just as the snow surrounds the sleeping mountains. If you enjoy stories of quiet winter journeys, tales of soft lantern light, knowing companions, and winding paths through snow-lit mountains, pause here before you drift off to sleep and subscribe for more. Let's make sure you can find this quiet refuge again. And tell me, if you'd like, where are you listening from? And what are you grateful for this evening? Good. Let's take a slow breath together and step gently toward rest. We'll begin with a simple box breathing exercise. 4 counts in, 4 counts held, 4 counts out, 4 counts still. Imagine the breath moving like the train itself, steady, quiet, unhurried, gliding through soft snowfall as lantern light warms the carriage within. When you're ready, follow along. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. 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 Good. Now allow your breath to gently return to its natural rhythm. Let's begin with your head. Feel the cool, crisp stillness of the mountain air brushing past as the train glides into night. Soft, spacious, settling your thoughts like snowflakes drifting to rest. Your forehead smooths. Your eyes soften, heavy and calm, like lanterns dimming for the journey ahead. Let that ease travel down into your shoulders, loosening as though a warm wool blanket has been wrapped gently around you, the way a kind guard might settle one across your lap on a cold night. Your arms relax, from upper arms to elbows to wrists, as if warmed by the glow of the carriage lamps, steady and golden against the blue night outside. Your chest opens softly, breath moving like the gentle sway of the carriage on its rails. Let it ebb and flow without effort. Your belly softens. Calm and unguarded, like a quiet moment at the window, watching snow gather on the pines. Now your hips and pelvis. Release any tightness there. Imagine leaning back into a well-worn seat, cushioned and safe, the hum of the mountain song barely audible beneath you. Your legs grow heavier. Thighs sinking into softness. Calves letting go. As though your body knows this is a long-awaited rest. And finally, your feet. Settling, grounding, arriving. As if feeling the faint warmth rising through the carriage floor, promising that the journey ahead is gentle, steady, and guided. Good. You're ready now. The night is quiet, the mountains waiting, the train lantern glowing through falling snow. Let's step aboard. Snow was falling in soft, unhurried spirals over the mountain station. Each flake drifted downward as though it had all the time in the world, settling gently on stone, on rail, on the quiet wooden platform. The night was calm here, deep, still. Lanterns swung lightly in the cold air, their warm gold glow brushing the snowflakes as they passed. A faint hush lay over everything, a hush so complete it felt almost like an out-breath from the mountains themselves. And through this hush, the last train waited. Its windows glowed with gentle light, soft, steady, welcoming. The kind of light one might walk toward after a long winter day. The traveller stepped onto the platform with slow, careful footsteps, as though drawn into the quiet rather than breaking it. He paused for a moment, letting the cold air touch his skin, letting his breath curl upward in pale silver ribbons. He was tired, not with heaviness, but with the softness that comes at the end of a long journey. The kind of tired that feels almost like drifting, almost like peace. A rustle came from the railing beside him. A small mountain cat sat perched there, tail wrapped neatly around its paws. Its fur was the color of dusk on fresh snow, and its eyes held a quiet, steady knowing. It blinked at him, a slow, warm blink, as though offering a greeting meant only for him. The traveller felt something ease inside his chest. The cat hopped down and padded toward the waiting carriage, pausing, looking over its shoulder, inviting him on. A door opened with a soft sigh. The guard stepped out, brushing snow from his coat. His voice was warm in the cold air. "Evening," he said gently. "You're right on time." The traveller nodded, his breath still steadying. I don't think I have a ticket." The guard smiled, kindly, knowingly, as though this was something he'd heard 100 times before. "It's there," he said softly. "Right hand pocket." The traveller slipped his hand into his coat and his fingers brushed cool metal. He drew out a small pendant. Silver, simple, familiar, in a way he couldn't explain. He frowned gently at it, puzzled but untroubled. The guard gave a small nod, as though this was exactly as it should be. "Head aboard," he murmured. "It's a good night for the journey." Warm air drifted from the open door, the scent of pine and lantern oil, and something like the memory of home. The cat slipped inside first, tail held high. The traveller followed, leaving the quiet, snow-wrapped platform behind. As the door side shut behind him, he exhaled, a long, gentle breath, and felt something in him begin, at last, to settle. The warmth of the carriage settled around him like a soft blanket, easing the chill from his skin. Lanterns glowed along the aisle, their amber light flickering gently with the movement of the train. The world outside the windows was a wash of blue and white, snow drifting down the glass in delicate wandering patterns. The little mountain cat padded ahead of him, its paws soundless on the wooden floor. It paused beside an empty pair of seats, looked up at him with that same quiet knowing, and hopped gracefully onto the cushioned bench. The traveller lowered himself into the seat beside it, letting the support of it cradle his tired body. He exhaled softly, a breath that seemed to carry hours, perhaps days of wandering. The cat shifted closer, brushing against his coat before curling contentedly at his side. Outside, snow deepened, falling in thicker, slower flakes, each one catching the lantern light as it drifted past. The hum of the train underfoot felt steady and reassuring, a gentle rhythm like a heartbeat beneath the floorboards. The guard appeared a moment later, moving calmly down the aisle with a folded blanket over one arm. Without a word, he draped it across the traveler's lap, tucking it lightly around him. "No charge tonight," he said with a warm, familiar smile. "Just rest, that's all you need to do." The traveler nodded, grateful. He hadn't realized how deeply the cold had settled into his bones until now. The guard held his gaze for a moment longer, a soft, steady look, as though seeing something he recognized, before continuing down the carriage. The cat shifted again, climbing onto his lap with a soft, rumbling purr that vibrated gently through the blanket. Snow shadows played across the ceiling as the train glided forward, the world outside passing in muted blues and silver white. The traveler leaned his head lightly against the window frame, breathing in the warm, pine-scented air. His eyelids fluttered, not fully closing but drifting, softening, carried by the gentle rhythm around him. The mountain song was faint still, little more than a distant hum beneath the rails. But every so often it rose just enough for him to feel it more than hear it. A note, a breath, a whisper. He wasn't sure why it comforted him so deeply. Only that it did. He let his eyes drift shut for a heartbeat. Just long enough for warmth and motion and quiet to blur together. And when they opened again, the cat was still there, watching him with patient, steady eyes. He smiled. The cat blinked back, and the train carried them onward into deepening snow. The train slid deeper into the mountains, the tracks curving gently toward a narrow ravine ahead. Outside the window, the world seemed to draw closer. Dark pines leaning in, branches heavy with fresh snow. The snowfall thickened, drifting in slow curtains of silver white that softened the edges of everything they passed. The traveler watched as the trees pressed nearer, their tall silhouettes rising like quiet guardians along the line. The cat lifted its head, ears pricking forward, as though listening to something only it could hear. A moment later, the train entered the ravine. Sound changed instantly. A soft shift, a deepening, as though the air itself had turned into a resonant chamber. The hum of the rails stretched out into long, gentle echoes. And beneath those echoes, another sound emerged. A calm, distant resonance, low at first, then shaping itself into the faintest echo of a choral hymn. The traveler stilled, breath softening without him meaning it to. The mountain song, not imagined, not loud, just there, woven through stone and snow and shadow. The lanterns in the carriage flickered as the sound passed beneath them, as though responding to something ancient and gentle beneath the tracks. Light shimmered briefly on the ravine walls, not bright, not sharp, just a soft glinting, like moonlight caught in crystal. Snowflakes spiraled past in delicate glittering trails, each one illuminated for a heartbeat before drifting away again. The cat rose and crossed his lap, settling on the other side of him with a small, weighty sigh. The traveler placed a hand along its back, the warmth beneath his palm grounding him as the train moved through the echoing pass. He felt his eyelids grow heavy, his breath deepen, his body soften into the seat as the hymn-like resonance swelled softly around them. For a moment, he wasn't sure if he was seeing the ravine walls or dreaming them, the boundary between the two growing quiet, thin, peaceful. A faint movement drew his gaze. A soft glimmer of light among the pines perched along the ridge. It drifted with them for a little while, never approaching, never leaving, simply keeping pace like a gentle companion along the heights. He blinked slowly, letting the sight settle into him. It didn't feel strange, only right. The guard walked softly down the aisle, the steady echo of the ravine carrying his footsteps. He paused beside the traveler, voice a quiet murmur. "Good night for the journey," he said. The traveler nodded, unable to find words, wrapped in warmth and the mountain's gentle song. The guard touched the back of the seat lightly. A small, wordless reassurance before moving on. The train glided onward, snow brightening, glow deepening, song blooming softly through the stone. And the traveler, drifting between wakefulness and dream, let the quiet carry him. The ravine widened slowly, the walls drawing back until the train was once again moving through open, snow-laden air. The world outside seemed to breathe as it opened a long, gentle exhale into a valley bathed in soft blue light. Pines thinned. Then they faded away entirely, leaving nothing but white slopes rising into the night and a sky full of drifting stars. Snow fell here in a different way. Lighter, slower, as though suspended for a moment before drifting downwards in shimmering trails. The traveller leaned closer to the glass, breath misting lightly across it, watching each flake glow as it passed through the reach of the carriage lanterns. In the distance, a soft ripple of colour shimmered across the sky, faint at first. A pale ribbon of blue that stirred the air like a sigh. The cat lifted its head again, eyes following the movement of the light as though greeting something familiar. The traveller felt a quiet warmth bloom in his chest, even as the landscape grew colder, wider, more luminous around them. The mountain song had changed too. Still gentle, still distant, but now layered with a slow, airy harmony, as if the wind itself were humming along. A soft glow trailed along the ridges beside them. A drifting presence that stayed with the train as it climbed higher. The pendant at his chest caught a glint of that glow, reflecting a faint line of silver blue light across his coat. He touched it without thinking, feeling the cool metal beneath his fingertips warm ever so slightly in his hand. Up ahead, the valley curved into a higher, narrower pass, the rails threading gently between the white slopes. The sky above it brightened with a second ripple of color. This one soft gold beneath the blue, folding into it like layers of quiet light. The guard appeared once more, hand resting lightly on a seat back, as he steadied himself with the motion of the train. "We're almost there," he said softly. His voice blended with the hush around them, warm and certain. "You can rest once we arrive." The traveller nodded, though he wasn't entirely sure what he was agreeing to. It didn't matter. It felt right. The cat stretched across his lap, then hopped lightly down, padding over to the aisle to peer toward the front of the carriage as though anticipating what came next. Outside, the snow began to glitter. A soft scattering of tiny lights, like stars caught in motion. The air beyond the window thickened with a luminous shimmer, pale blue shifting gently toward gold and back again. As if the sky itself were remembering something. The train climbed higher, into that soft glow, into that quiet knowing, carrying them toward the summit where light and snow met in perfect stillness. and the traveller, held in warmth and wonder, felt something within him unfold. Gently, like the beginning of a long-awaited return. The train began to slow as the snowy world around them brightened into a soft, shifting glow. The high pass opened wide, revealing a gentle sweep of mountaintop, laid out beneath a sky of pale blue and gold. Light shimmered in slow waves, pale blues and golds drifting across the snow like breath made visible. The traveller watched, mesmerized, as the glow deepened with the train's arrival, as though the mountains themselves were greeting him. The little cat hopped down from its seat, tail flicking, and trotted to the door with a soft urgency. The carriage lanterns dimmed to a warm hush as the train came to a gentle stop. The guard paused beside the traveller, resting a steady hand on the seat back. "Here we are," he murmured. His voice was warm, certain, touched with a kindness beyond explanation. "You're home now." The doors slid open with a soft breath of cold air. Fresh, clean, tinged with the faintest scent of pine and snowlight. The traveller stepped down onto the platform. Snow cushioned his boots, glowing softly beneath each step. He turned just in time to see the train slipping silently away into the snowfall, lantern light fading into the luminous blue and gold. No whistle. No sound at all. Just a quiet departure, as gentle as an exhale. The mountain song softened with it. A distant hum folding itself back into the stillness of the high pass. Then, a figure appeared through the glow. A woman stepping across the snow with slow, familiar grace. Her coat dusted with frost, her smile warm enough to melt the cold around them. He knew her immediately, with a certainty that reached deeper than memory. His mother. She came to him without hurry, without surprise. As though she had always known he would arrive on this night, in this place. He stepped toward her. She opened her arms. And they embraced beneath the shimmering sky. The little cat circled them and settled at their feet. Tail brushing lightly against their boots. His mother touched his cheek, brushed snow from his coat. And smiled with a warmth as steady as the lanterns he'd left behind. "Let's go home," she whispered. She turned toward the glowing snowfield. A soft path opening ahead as colors rippled gently across the sky. He walked beside her, the cat padding quietly at their heels. Their footsteps made only the faintest impressions. As though the mountain itself held them lightly. And together they moved toward the shifting glow. Blue to gold. Gold to white. Soft as breath. Steady as rest. A light that welcomed them with every step. The mountain song hummed once more, a final gentle echo beneath the colors. And then all was stillness. And snow. And home.
Welcome to Bedtime Story Lounge, a peaceful space where grown-ups can slow down, breathe deeply, and drift into restful sleep with soothing storytelling. Tonight, we're headed to a quiet porch deep in a green and overgrown glade. The rain is falling soft and steady. The teapot is warm. And the woman who lives here, once a famous potion brewer, now offers something simpler: comfort, calm, and a place to sit a while. If you enjoy stories of soft rain and quiet wisdom, tales of healing herbs, warm cups, and listening without judgment, do give this video a like and subscribe for more. It helps others find our little corner of calm. And tell me, if you'd like, how do you warm up after coming in from the rain? The rain is falling gently now, soft and steady on the porch roof. The kind of rain that quiets the world and calls you to rest. Before we begin tonight's story, let's take a moment to breathe together, to slow down and settle in. We'll use a simple pattern called box breathing. Breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold. Each breath like a gentle ritual, steady and soothing. Breathe in, hold. Breathe out, hold. 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 Good. Now gently bring your attention to the top of your head. Imagine the scent of lavender and rosemary drifting on the air, softening your scalp and brow. Let it travel down across your face, easing your eyes, unclenching your jaw, loosening your neck and shoulders like warm steam from a teacup. Let your arms grow heavy, as if you'd been holding a warm mug for hours and could finally set it down. Down through your chest and back, releasing tension like breath through parted lips. And finally, let that sense of soft stillness settle through your belly. Your legs, your feet, all the way to your toes. You are here now, safe, still, and ready. And somewhere not far from here, an old woman is rocking slowly on her porch, a teapot at her side, and the rain for company. Let's join her. Rain fell in fine threads across the glade, stitching silver lines through the ferns and brambles. It pattered on the roof of the porch and gathered in puddles along the mossy flagstones. The old woman sat quietly in her rocking chair, a shawl drawn close around her shoulders. The porch creaked now and then beneath her weight, but the sound was soft, familiar, like a lullaby remembered from long ago. She didn't speak, she didn't need to. The rain did the talking. Beside her, a teapot steamed gently. The scent of herbs rose with it, something calming, something warm. Lavender, perhaps, or mint, maybe both. Around the porch, little clay pots spilled over with green, chamomile, rosemary, lemon balm. Each plant lovingly tended, rain-speckled and thriving. The old woman was once known far beyond this glade. A potion brewer of rare talent, her name passed from healer to traveller, whispered across maps and mountains. But those days were behind her now. Now she brewed only what was needed. A tonic for aching joints. A syrup for a restless night. A tea to soothe the quiet ache that lives behind the ribs. And sometimes, like tonight, she brewed for no one but herself. Somewhere down the path, water squelched under hurried steps. The old woman didn't rise. She simply poured a second cup of tea, her movements unhurried, as though she'd been expecting someone all along. Through the mist came a figure, hooded, soaked, and unsure. A traveller, young perhaps, though tired in that ageless way worn by those who've carried too much for too long. They paused at the edge of the glade, uncertain, and then, drawn by the light and the scent and the hush of the rain, they stepped up onto the porch. Still, the old woman said nothing. She held out the teacup with a small, knowing nod. The visitor took it with both hands, cradling the warmth. There were 2 chairs, there always had been. and the second one, like always, was waiting. They sat together in the hush, the old woman and the soaked, silent traveller, just breathing in the steam and watching the rain. A small cat appeared from somewhere behind the herb pots and curled between their feet, tail flicking once before settling. It was a long time before anyone spoke. "I didn't know where else to go," the traveller said, voice barely louder than the rain. The old woman nodded and sipped her tea. "You don't need to explain," she said softly. And for a while longer they didn't. The traveller's hands were steadier now, curled around the warm ceramic cup. Rain still fell steadily, drumming its gentle rhythm into the roof. Somewhere deeper in the glade, a frog croaked, then fell quiet again. "I left," the traveller said eventually, "but I don't know what happens next." The old woman didn't answer right away. She leaned forward, plucking a sprig of lemon balm from a nearby pot. She held it between her fingers, breathed it in. "I've always believed," she said quietly, "that next doesn't need to be decided all at once." She rose slowly, disappearing into the cottage with the sprig of lemon balm and returning a moment later with a small stone bowl and pestle. She began grinding herbs by the porch rail, chamomile, lemon balm, a pinch of cinnamon bark. Her motions were slow, circular, certain. The air filled with the scent of healing. "This isn't a cure," she said, almost to herself. "It won't change anything, but it might help you sleep." The traveller nodded, eyes shining but dry. The old woman brewed the new tea, poured it into a second cup. This one was smaller, meant for resting hands and quiet nights. And then, as the rain shifted from rhythm to lullaby, the old woman spoke. "There's an old story," she said, "about a girl who planted sorrow in her garden." The traveller looked up. "She watered it with tears," the woman went on. "Sat beside it each morning, and in the spring something new came up. Not what she expected, not sorrow at all, lavender, wild and sweet." The traveller didn't speak, but something softened in their posture, some small untangling. "Sometimes," the woman said, "sorrow prepares the soil." When the cup was empty, the old woman stood. "Come inside now," she said gently. "The fire's still warm." The traveller followed, their steps quiet on the wooden floor. Inside the cottage, the hearth glowed low, casting amber light across shelves of dusty bottles and bundles of herbs hung to dry. A blanket lay folded across a worn armchair. A small bed waited in the corner, simple and soft. The cat had already taken its place by the fire, purring faintly. The old woman helped the traveller out of their wet cloak, set it to dry, and offered them the blanket. "You'll sleep here tonight," she said, with the tone of someone who'd already decided. The traveller didn't argue. She watched them settle, then turned back to the porch. The rain hadn't stopped, nor would it, not just yet. But it had softened, the way grief sometimes does when given a place to rest. She tidied the teacups, watered a pot of lavender by the railing, and sat again in her chair. The porch creaked under her as she rocked. The motion was as familiar to her body as breath. The glade was quiet now. The world could be wild, yes. But here, in this small corner of it, peace held steady. And the old potion brewer. She closed her eyes and listened to the rain.
Welcome to Bedtime Story Lounge, a calm and peaceful space where grown-ups can slow down, unwind, and drift into restful sleep with gentle storytelling. Tonight, we'll step into a quiet temple library during a distant rainstorm, where old scrolls wait patiently to be copied, oil lamps flicker beside carved stone walls, and a soft-footed cat keeps quiet watch. If you enjoy stories of quiet wonder and sacred stillness, gentle tales of lamplight, old scrolls, and the hush of rain on stone, do give this video a like and subscribe for more. It helps others find our little corner of calm. And tell me, if you'd like, what kind of story would you preserve if it were your task to copy it by hand? As the rain taps gently against the high windows, let's begin by slowing down together, like the hush of a sacred room after the last footsteps have faded. This is a simple breathing technique called box breathing. We'll breathe in, hold, breathe out, and hold again, each for a count of 4. I'll guide you through 10 breaths like this, then we'll relax the body before beginning the story. Breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold, 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 breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold. Good. Now, let's take a moment to settle more deeply, as though you were sinking into a quiet corner of the temple library, the rain still pattering gently overhead. Bring your attention to the top of your head. Let your forehead smooth, as if touched by a breeze from the high stone windows. Soften your eyes, unfocusing like a reader pausing mid-scroll. Unclench your jaw. Let it hang softly, like the silence after a page is turned. Feel your neck lengthen, your shoulders dropping down, releasing the weight of the day like a cloak being slipped off. Let your arms rest easily at your sides, your hands open and still, as though resting beside parchment not yet picked up. Notice your chest rising and falling, steady as the rhythm of the rain outside. Let your stomach soften. No holding, no effort, just peace. Now feel the weight of your body through your hips, your legs long and grounded like the stone pillars holding up this sacred space. Soften your knees, your calves, your ankles. And finally your feet, cool, still, planted gently as if upon worn temple tiles. You are safe here. You are still. The storm may speak beyond the walls, but inside this library, all is quiet. The rain had begun just after nightfall, a steady, murmuring kind of rain that filled the stone eaves and gutters with sound. Now and then, a soft rumble of thunder moved across the hills, never too close, never too sharp, only enough to make the lamp flame flicker. Inside the temple library, the air was warm and still. The stone walls curved gently inward, forming a wide circular room lined with alcoves and shelves, each filled with scrolls wrapped in cloth or bound in careful thread. A low-burning oil lamp cast amber light across the tiled floor, the flame reflected in the polished edge of an old brass urn. Somewhere high above, hidden in the shadows of the vaulted ceiling, water dripped from one place to another, soft, hollow, distant. The archivist sat cross-legged at a low table, carefully unrolling a scroll and weighing it down at each end. They moved with unhurried grace, as though time itself slowed inside these walls. Outside, the storm might grow or fade. It made no difference here. This place was older than the weather, older than the path that led to it. Beside the archivist, a cat had curled itself into the crook of a folded robe. Pale grey with a streak of white across its nose, it gave a soft sigh but did not open its eyes. It was said that cats in the temple chose where to sleep based on memory more than sight, that they remembered people from lives long past and waited beside them once more. The archivist reached for the ink and brush, the first careful word already forming in their mind. The scroll before them was a copy of an older copy, and even older still, a tale of sea-born spirits and wind-carved stones. They had read it before, but this time they would shape it with their own hand. Outside, the rain poured steadily on, like the rhythm of a long-forgotten prayer. The brush touched parchment, and the first line bloomed into being. Slow strokes, curved just so, each character balanced like stones in a stream. The archivist exhaled through their nose, steady and even, letting the rhythm take hold. The story they copied tonight was old, though not one of the most sacred. It told of a spirit who once walked the wind paths between the islands, calming the storms that tried to rise. A guardian of crossings and skyfaring journeys, neither god nor myth, but something in between. The archivist found it comforting, not a tale of battles or grandeur, but of quiet presence, of watching, waiting, listening. Outside, the thunder rumbled again, low, long, distant. The cat flicked an ear, then settled again with a tiny, satisfied grunt. The archivist dipped the brush once more, mindful of the ink's weight, the way it soaked and spread. They had been told many times that this task mattered, that to preserve a story was to carry it forward, to keep it breathing. And yet, they often wondered if they truly understood the stories they copied. Were they meant to, or was it enough to hold them with care? Their teacher had once said, "Meaning is not always in the words. Sometimes it lives in the hands that carry them." A flicker of movement at the edge of the lamp glow caught their eye. A droplet falling from the ceiling caught mid-air before landing in a small basin near the wall. It echoed softly, a note of water in a quiet room. The archivist paused, brush held still in mid-air, and listened. To the rain, to the silence, to the soft breath of the cat, and to the feeling, faint but unmistakable, that something just beneath the surface of the evening was listening back. Not in a frightening way, just present. Like the story. They returned to their work, the next line unfolding slowly under their hand. And in the shadows above, the drip fell again. Some time later, the brush was set aside. The scroll lay flat, the ink drying in delicate strokes, and the archivist rose to tend the lamps. It was a quiet duty, but an important one, to keep the circle of light unbroken through the night. Each lamp along the outer wall rested in a carved recess, just below the statues that watched from their alcoves. The figures had no names spoken aloud, but their faces were worn smooth with age and reverence, some serene, some sorrowful, some kind. The archivist moved steadily from lamp to lamp, their footsteps soft against the tiled floor. The rain outside gave a gentle rhythm to the work, a hush, a drip, a patter, while the oil trickled carefully from the small clay flask into each waiting bowl. The cat followed for a time, padding behind them without sound. At one alcove it paused, sitting beneath a statue with wide, hollow eyes and hands folded at the chest. The archivist paused too, glancing up. This one always seemed to lean slightly forward, as if listening. They topped up the lamp below the figure and moved on. Near the far side of the library, in a rarely open shelf, something caught the archivist's eye, a flash of blue, almost like water under light. Curiosity stirred. The shelf was not sealed, only quiet. Forgotten, perhaps. They reached gently inside and lifted a scroll wrapped in sea blue silk, the edges embroidered with a fading silver thread. It felt cool to the touch. Cooler than it should have given the warmth of the room. Holding it in both hands, the archivist stepped back toward the center and laid it on the desk. The cat returned to its place without comment, curling once, then stilling. The scroll had no title on the outer wrap, no markings. Just the blue silk and a single ivory pin holding it closed. As the archivist reached to undo the pin, a soft gust passed through the room. The lamp flame shivered, but nothing else moved. The archivist placed a steadying hand on the scroll and waited. The storm deepened as the archivist drew out the ivory pin and unwrapped the sea blue silk. It slid away with a faint whisper, like the tide drawing back from sand. Beneath it, the scroll was older than expected, not brittle, but worn at the edges, the parchment dulled to a pale grey. Unrolling it revealed lines of script not quite like the others. The characters shimmered faintly, not with magic exactly, but with something that seemed to catch the lamplight and shift it, like water reflecting sky. The first line read, "This is the story of the one who sang to storms." The archivist exhaled slowly. Outside, a gust of wind swept across the eaves, and rain fell harder for a moment, as though the sky too were listening. They read on. The story was strange, almost a song in its cadence, telling of a figure who lived where land met sea and sky, one who didn't fight the weather but listened to it. Spoke with it. Sometimes soothed it and sometimes simply bore witness. Each line seemed to echo something just beyond words. The rhythm of waves, the hush before thunder, the ache of silence after loss. It was not a long story, and yet it seemed to hold more than it said, as though it was only the surface of something much deeper, remembered by heart but never spoken aloud. As the archivist reached the final line, the rain softened again, returning to its gentler hush. They paused, hands resting beside the unrolled parchment. The cat opened its eyes and looked up at them. For a long moment, the archivist sat in stillness, letting the scroll rest open between their palms. They felt it again, that sense of presence. Not watching, not judging, just being. As though the library, the rain, the scroll, the cat, and the quiet breath in their chest were all part of the same slow heartbeat. Eventually they reached for the silk and wrapped the scroll once more. The ivory pin slid back into place with a soft click. They would not copy this one, not yet. Some stories were meant to be read first and remembered. The lamps had all been tended. The scrolls were safely stored. The storm outside had softened into a steady hush, like the slow, even breathing of the temple itself. The archivist returned to their place at the low table, the sea blue scroll now wrapped once more and resting beside the others. They reached for a simpler text, a familiar story, one they had copied many times, and let their brush begin again. But the rhythm was slower now, more thoughtful. They paused between lines, listening to the rain, watching the flame. Letting the weight of silence fill the space between each stroke of ink. The cat stretched without sound and shifted to the edge of the mat, its tail curled neatly beside its body. Its eyes half closed, it watched the archivist with that same patient expression, as if it too had read the blue scroll and understood. The story they had just read lingered, not in the mind, but in the chest, in the hands, in the quiet curve of the spine. It had said something simple and deep, that not all stories are meant to be explained. Some are meant to be held, kept, carried. The archivist sat back slightly, the brush resting now in the bowl. They looked around the library, the glow of the lamps, the curve of the shelves, the faces of the statues in their shadowed alcoves. They thought, perhaps the stories we keep become part of us. Not because we understand them all at once, but because we return to them. Because we let them rest in us, like water in a well, or light in a room we enter again and again. A breeze stirred faintly in the upper reaches of the temple, barely more than a whisper. Then a droplet fell, striking the basin below with a soft, echoing note. The kind of sound you might miss entirely unless you were listening. The archivist closed their eyes. The cat purred. And the night went on, as steady and sacred as the rain.
Welcome to Bedtime Story Lounge, a quiet space where grown-ups can slow down, breathe deeply, and drift gently into sleep. Tonight, let me take you to the edge of a dreamlike world, where starlight pools in the hollows of the hills and the road ahead fades into mist and moonlight. Here, tucked just beyond the last turning of the path, stands the Moonglass Inn. It is a place of deep stillness, where purple crystals grow from the floor beneath a ceiling of clear glass, and the soft light of the moon spills down like silk. Pilgrims stop here to rest, some with stories too heavy to carry, others with only silence left to give. And the innkeeper, who once walked the road herself, welcomes each one without question. Just warmth, just rest, just the quiet comfort of being seen. If you enjoy stories of quiet kindness and dreamlike stillness, tales of soft moonlight, glowing crystal, and the hush of distant paths, do give this video a like and subscribe for more. It helps others find our little corner of calm. And tell me, if you'd like, who do you turn to, or what gives you strength when the road feels long? Now, before we begin our story, let's take a moment to slow everything down. At the Moonglass Inn, even the air seems to move gently, like the steam rising from a cup of tea or the moonlight settling on the floor. The innkeeper teaches weary travelers a kind of breath to ease their burden. In and hold, out and rest. A simple rhythm, steady, kind. Let's try it together now. 10 slow breaths. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. 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 Now let your breath return to its natural rhythm. Next, we'll begin a slow body scan, just like the innkeeper might guide a weary pilgrim toward sleep. Start with your head. Imagine the hush of the inn at night, the distant creak of the wooden beams, the soft shimmer of starlight on glass. Let that stillness settle over your brow, your temples, your jaw. There's nothing you need to hold here. Let it go. Move to your shoulders and feel the quiet weight of a warm woven shawl, something the innkeeper laid across you when you weren't looking. Let your shoulders drop beneath its comfort. Let them be soft. Down through your arms, warm from tea or the nearness of the hearth, your elbows, your wrists, the space between each finger, all loose now, quiet, at ease. Turn your attention to your chest. Feel the gentle rise and fall, as if you were breathing in time with the flickering of an oil lamp. You are safe. You are welcome here. Now your belly, soft, slow, relaxed. Let it be still, like the crystals that grow when no one's watching. No tension, no hurry. Bring awareness to your hips, cradled in the bedding, steady and grounded. This place holds you, You don't have to go any farther tonight. Down through your legs, long traveled, but finally still. Let the quiet of the inn seep into your knees, your shins, the arches of your feet. And finally your feet, the part of you that carried you here. Let them rest, let them be honored, let them be warm. The innkeeper would say, "You've walked far enough for now. Let the night keep watch." The Moonglass Inn is not easy to find. It stands at the place where the path forgets its name, where maps fade at the edges and stars drift so low they brush the tops of the trees. No sign hangs above its door. No lights blaze from its windows. But those who need it always seem to arrive. The door opens without a sound. The warmth inside is soft and amber, like honey held to the sun. Floorboards sigh beneath careful feet, and something in the air, a mix of old wood, wild herbs, and the faintest hint of lavender, tells you you've reached the end of something, or the beginning of something else. The innkeeper says little, just a smile and a gesture toward the hearth. Her hair is silvered and plaited, her hands lined and strong. You think you see the outline of a walking staff by the door and a worn pack tucked beside the stairs. But you don't ask. She doesn't offer. Instead, she pours you tea, places a blanket over your shoulders, and hums a tune with no words. You sit, and for the first time in a very long while, you are still. The room where you sit is unlike any other. Above you, the ceiling is made entirely of glass, clear as mountain air, smoothed by time. Through it, the moon glows softly, casting lilac light across the stone floor. Beneath the glow, amethyst crystals rise in slow, silent bloom. No one speaks of them, but everyone watches. It's said the crystals remember, that they grow in response to the thoughts you carry, the stories you've not yet told. You lean back in your chair. The cushions have that gentle sort of wear that only comes from years of use and kindness. A kettle hums from the corner. Rain, or perhaps stardust, taps gently against the glass above. The innkeeper moves without hurry. She stokes the fire with a twist of dried herbs that smell faintly of mint and smoke. She lays out bread, still warm, and a bowl of something simple and good. No questions, no fare expected. Only the soft understanding of someone who has walked the road before you. You feel it deep in your chest, that ache of tiredness that isn't just from walking, but from carrying. And slowly, as you eat and breathe and simply exist, something inside you begins to loosen. After a time, the innkeeper returns. She carries a book, thick, leather-bound, softened at the edges, like an old traveller's coat. She lays it on the low table before you, beside the empty bowl and your half-finished cup. It is not a guest book. No names fill its pages. Instead, you see sketches, a stone bridge arched in the mist, a pair of worn boots placed neatly by a riverbank, a lantern held up against the stars. Between the pictures are lines of handwriting in many different scripts. Some are poems, some are prayers, some are only phrases or words, home, stillness, nearly there. A pressed flower, a dried fruit stone, a ticket stub with the ink faded to nothing, a tiny fabric scrap stitched with silver thread. You realize slowly that this is a record of pilgrimage, not in the way of maps or milestones, but in memories. It holds what the travelers chose to leave behind. Not all do, some simply rest, and that is enough. The innkeeper says nothing, just watches with a quiet, patient smile, the kind that says, "You don't need to explain." If you wish, you can turn the pages. If you wish, you can add something too. You think about the road that brought you here, the weight you've carried, the strength it took not to turn back. And for a moment, you wonder what trace you'll leave behind and whether it's already growing slowly among the crystals on the floor. Your fingers rest on the edge of a page, a charcoal sketch of a winding path through tall, wind-swept grass. In the corner, someone has written, "The wind was against me that day, but I kept walking." Another shows a pair of hands cupped around a flame, beneath it, for the one who waited. You keep turning pages. There's a single pressed feather, pale and fine, tucked beside a child's drawing, a hill with a big moon and a figure waving at the top. The crayon line is shaky, the letters reversed. "I found the sky," it says. You feel your chest ache gently, not in a painful way, more like something stretching, making room. The innkeeper sets a small box beside the book. Inside are tokens left for sharing. Bits of ribbon, scraps of paper, tiny vials of dried petals and sea glass. Pieces of story waiting to be carried forward. You don't yet know what you'll leave, but that's all right. You don't have to decide tonight. The innkeeper brushes a hand across the book's cover. It's a place, she says, voice low and rough with warmth, for what you can't say aloud, for what helped you keep going, even when it was hard. Her eyes meet yours. You've come so far, and you are still here. The fire crackles low, casting soft shadows on the wall. The innkeeper closes the book, not with finality, but with care. As if she's tucking it in for the night. She lifts the box of tokens and returns it to its shelf. Then, with a nod, she gestures to the stairs. You follow her up slowly, feet finding the rhythm of old wood and candlelight. The air smells of lavender and something older, stone warmed by sun, wool blankets, memories folded into linen. Your room is small and beautiful. A single bed with thick quilts. A curved window with a view of the path below, where the crystals catch the moonlight and shimmer like fallen stars. A cup of water, a stitched pillow with the word rest sewn in the corner. The innkeeper draws the blanket back for you. She doesn't ask if you'll sleep. She just rests a hand briefly on your shoulder, warm, grounding, and then leaves, closing the door with a softness that feels like a blessing. You lie down. The blanket is weighty in just the right way. The pillow cradles your head like it remembers your shape. Through the window, the purple moon watches over you. Somewhere below, another traveler arrives. You hear the door open. The hush of greeting. The fire stirred back to life. But here, in this quiet space, You are done for the day. You made it. You're safe. You can rest now.
Hello and welcome to the Bedtime Story Lounge, a calm, comforting space where grown-ups can slow down, breathe deeply, and drift into restful sleep. Tonight, we begin by a quiet campfire on the edge of an open plain. The stars are beginning to show, scattered like tiny lanterns across the darkening sky. A soft wind stirs the grass. The fire crackles gently, and a cat, small, black, and ever so quiet, curls up just close enough to the warmth. She watches as she always does. She listens, she waits. If you enjoy gentle imaginative stories like this one, tales of quiet magic and simple companionship, do give this video a like and subscribe for more. It really helps others find our quiet little corner. And let me know in the comments if you have a magical cat following you on your journey. What is their name? Tonight, I'm grateful for flickering firelight and the way a cat's purr can melt the edges of the day. What are you grateful for? Now, let's begin to unwind. We'll begin with a little box breathing. Let the day soften and dissolve. There's nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to be. Just breathe with me. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. 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 Good. Let your breathing come back to its normal rhythm. And now, let's settle a little deeper with a short body scan. Gently bring your awareness to your toes. Notice the weight of your feet resting. Then up through your legs, knees. Allow the muscles to soften, to let go. Bring your attention to your hips and back. Let your spine relax. Let your shoulders drop. Soften your jaw. Unclench your hands. And let your eyelids rest heavy and easy. You are safe. You are warm. You are welcome here. She is a quiet little thing, soft-pawed, observant, always just at the edge of the firelight. She doesn't walk with the summoner, not exactly, but she follows a few paces behind, through dusty roads and mossy ruins, across bridges that sing in the wind, over cliffs where prayers hang like echoes. No one remembers when she joined the journey. The summoner never called her, not aloud, and yet she came. Some villages call her a spirit. Others say she's a blessing. The summoner simply calls her Little One, sometimes with a smile, sometimes with quiet concern, as if even she doesn't fully understand why the cat stays. But the cat knows. She stays because the summoner is lonely. Not the loud kind of lonely, not the sort you speak of. The quiet kind, the heavy kind, tucked behind a steady voice and a determined walk. The summoner carries many things, a staff, a song, a purpose. But the cat, she carries only presence, and that is enough. She walks beside the girl who bows before statues, waits by the door of every temple, sleeps at the foot of every borrowed bed. She knows the rhythm of the road now, the places they pause, the meals the summoner forgets to eat, the way she gazes out at lakes and doesn't speak for hours. And still the cat watches. She watches the girl speak to stars and leave stones at shrines. She watches her shoulders hold sadness, tightly, quietly. And every night, when the fire crackles low, she curls up beside her and purrs a lullaby only she can hear. The road winds on, and the cat follows it like a ribbon. Some days are bright and open, others are grey, heavy with mist. But each brings its own quiet moment, and the cat remembers them all. In the mountain pass, the wind howls like wolves at the edge of the world. The cat tucks herself into the folds of the summoner's cloak as they rest in a hollow of stone. The fire barely catches. The summoner hums to herself, a melody the cat has heard before, though she couldn't name it. The mountains listen. So does the cat. In the desert town, they stop for shade and water. Children dart through the dusty streets, laughing barefoot. One of them spies the cat and tries to call her over with scraps of dried fruit. She blinks slowly, high on a rooftop, just out of reach. Later, the summoner speaks with a village elder beneath a worn tapestry of stars. The cat curls around a pillar and naps, ears twitching at every name spoken. In the forest shrine, they pause at twilight. The air smells of moss and old rain. The summoner kneels and whispers words in a language the cat does not understand, though she has heard them many times. Beside the shrine, a ring of wild flowers glows faintly in the fading light. The cat noses at the petals, then curls up beneath the ferns. When the summoner rises, she leaves behind a coin and a folded scrap of paper. And on the rainy night, when the world is soft and silver, they take shelter in an old watchtower, long forgotten. Rain drips through a crack in the roof, tapping a steady rhythm. The summoner lies wrapped in her cloak, one arm over her face. She does not sleep. The cat pads over quietly, curls up against her side, and stays very still. Sometimes, stillness is the only gift she can give. Each place leaves a mark, not on the summoner's map, but in a cat's memory. Not grand adventures, not great battles, just quiet things, fleeting things. A glance, a sigh, a thread of song caught in the trees. These are the things the cat carries. Not for anyone else, just for her. Grief is not something the cat can name, but she knows its scent, like iron and salt and something gone cold. She knows it in the stillness that falls sometimes, even when the wind is warm. She sees it in the way the summoner stares at the horizon but does not see. There are days when the summoner walks too far, too fast, as if trying to outrun something. The cat trots after her, never complaining. She waits while the summoner stops at quiet graves, runs a hand along stone that has no name. Some nights the summoner speaks to the stars, not in prayer, not really, just softly, as if someone might still be listening. The cat stays nearby, silent, watchful. She does not interrupt, but she is there. Sometimes the summoner clutches a pendant on a thin cord. Her fingers tighten, then loosen, then tighten again. The cat has watched her drop it once in anger, watched her pick it up again with shaking hands. The fire was too low to see her face, but the cat felt the heat of sorrow pulsing from her skin. The cat does not know what was lost, but she knows something precious once lived in the summoner's heart, and that now it echoes. So the cat keeps watch. She curls close when the world is too loud. She presses gently against the summoner's leg when the silence grows heavy. She blinks slowly from across the fire when no words are left. She has never spoken a word. But if she could, it would be something like, You don't have to carry it alone. And so she stays. There are moments, small glimmering things, when the summoner lets the mask slip. Not all the way. Not for long. But the cat sees them. A hand extended behind her, palm open in invitation. The quiet sharing of a meal, not spoken, not expected, just offered. A little fish, dried and tough, placed gently on a flat stone. The cat sniffs it once, eats it slowly. The summoner smiles, not a wide grin, just a soft curve of lips that rarely have cause to lift. Sometimes she speaks aloud. Not to the cat, not quite, but also not to herself. She'll murmur, "We're close now," or "I think it's east from here." As if including the cat in the decision. Once, in the golden light of an early morning, the summoner reached down and scratched behind the cat's ears. Just once. Just a flicker of contact. But it held something warm. Familiar. The cat leaned into it. And when the summoner pulled her hand away, she looked surprised, as if she hadn't meant to do it at all. Another time, they passed a shrine to forgotten guardians. The summoner lit a candle and bowed her head. The cat wove around her ankles, tail brushing the back of her legs. When the summoner straightened, she whispered, "Thank you, little one." Though whether to the shrine or the cat, it wasn't clear. These moments don't come often. But when they do, they're precious. Like light on still water. Like the echo of laughter in a place that hasn't known joy for a long, long time. And the cat, she stores these memories somewhere quiet, somewhere safe. They are her own kind of magic. Tonight they make camp beside a crystal lake, still and starlit. The surface is so smooth, it could be glass, or sky, or dream. The summoner lays down her pack and stretches out on the grass. Her staff beside her, her gaze tilted upward. The cat curls nearby, one paw tucked under her chest. Ears flicking at the soft chirp of night insects. Eyes half closed, watching the moon rise. The fire crackles low. The summoner is writing, slowly, thoughtfully, in her journal. Now and then she pauses, as if unsure what to say. Then her hand moves again, and the cat listens to the gentle rustle of paper. Ink and silence, stars and breath. It is peaceful here. Not because all is well, but because, for once, nothing is chasing them. No storm, no sorrow too sharp, no place they must be. The cat yawns, stretches. Then pads quietly to the summoner's side and settles there, warm and still. The summoner does not speak. But she reaches down absent-mindedly and rests a hand on the cat's back. The moment stretches, holds. And then the summoner sighs, not in sorrow, but in release. A long breath out. The fire pops softly. The lake glimmers. And somewhere in the grass and starlight, a cat purrs. You're safe now. You're warm. and you are not alone. Good night, little one.